Hi guys, welcome to another video in my series that I'm doing. This topic for today is going to be about how our reality is subjective. You'll notice that looking at theories in science and how many times it's been revised over and over, we know that sometimes we can't even trust science in itself because every time we come up with one discovery of something and we come up with one law that's supposed to be a universal law, then we find out 20 years later that the science books need to be updated because we found out new information, which makes the old information invalid. And therefore, we're constantly always at a learning point where it's like we're constantly trying to figure out what things really are instead of looking at it from a different perspective. And I'll talk about that more later. I'm just trying to get you through the basics. Think about how our perception changes based on our morality and even today's society as far as culture. So, like, reality changes based off of who you are. Some people perceive certain things as right and wrong, black and white, because our world is full of black and white, right and wrong. And so this duality is always looked at as if there's no gray and there's no changes to our perception. Our perception's always going to be black or white, and sometimes it's not always black or white. Like I said, people's classic example is you think the sky is red, I think the sky is blue. And that's used to mock at a lot of people that do a lot of like occultist things and things like that. It mocks people like that. They're esoteric and stuff because they want to make an example to say, how could your perception of the sky be red when the sky is clearly looking like it's blue? Which I have a comeback to that. A classic example is, does time go forward or infinitely, or can we go back in time? And you see, if you've been watching my previous videos, that I talk about going back in time. And yes, I may not have an official answer on how to physically go back in time with your body. But as far as I've learned through meditation, you can go back in time. And I know video cameras and electronics and other devices have able to capture our moments that we have on the screen at the present time, and when we are able to capture it, we can go back in the past and look at that moment like as if it was the present, if you get my drift. So, in a sense, that is time travel. Being able to record yourself and look at yourself at a later date while you're still in the future is confusing, but if you think about it, our perceptions changed based off of how we perceive things. Because technically, time doesn't have a past, present, and a future. Because if you think about it, you can go back in time, you can record a video of yourself, and then you can watch it at the present time. And you could say that you're in the past watching the television that you recorded, or you could say that you're presently watching it, which is the past or the present. Or you could say that in the future, I'm going to watch this video. And once you're in the future and you watch a video, you now become in the present. So, time theory is a very classic example that a lot of people use. Yes, time is always present. It's always existent. Even before scientists had a date on when the earth was actually full of living organisms, there was a dark mass in the earth, or whatever you believe in your creation story is, there still was unrecorded solid time that was going on in the history of the earth that has not been dated, that is definitely a part of time, which shows you that there was always a beginning and there's always going to be an ending, and the ending will always be the beginning. And that's why you have the infinity symbol that goes back and forth, but the snake has its own tail, it's in its mouth, because it's showing that no matter how far we go into the future, we'll always be going back into the past, and we'll be always in the present consistently while we're still here in our body. Like I said, video cameras, electronics, TV are who are we to say that the government doesn't already have this idea in place where we could have some kind of technology where we can go back in the past. I mean, I seriously don't doubt it. Some people think that I'm too far left field or that I'm too much of a paranormal enthusiast or whatever the case is, but I know that these things do exist because my intelligence tells me so. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to figure it out. It's something that I instinctively know because I have researched a lot of military documents and history, and we know that technology in the military has always been years ahead of civilian side. And me personally being in the military in my past, I've been able to witness those kinds of things. Therefore, I know for a fact that it does happen, even though people say it doesn't happen or whatever the case is. And I also like to think about like LSD. LSD in copious amounts reframes a lot of our programming to make us independent. And I'm not saying you should go out and buy some LSD. I'm not saying that at all. That's whatever you do is your discretion. I personally have never taken it, but I do understand that I've read a lot of research pamphlets that talk about the effects of LSD in individuals that were serving in the military. This was back in like the what, maybe 90s, the 80s. I mean, sorry, not the 90s. It was around like the 60s or so, before they ever made acid legal, when it was big, back during the Beatles' time, when it was originally created by a scientist who had made it for soldiers to be able to see how their performance would be affected by the LSD and if it would increase their mental activity. It would help their mental programming to be faster, they would be more intelligent, they'd be able to be more endurable, and be able to face more challenges, be in secluded places for long times by themselves, and be able to still maintain their mental health through this drug, which is LSD. That was originally why it was created. It wasn't created just to get high off of, it was created to be able to protect and strengthen soldiers' mental durability during war times. Yeah, what if the sky really isn't a sky? What if it's just a glass or a camera lens or a kind of paradigm that other universes are able to look through and we're just in a kaleidoscope right next to another universe living totally unbeknownst to each other, on the same y and x axis and the same grid coordinate as the earth and still coexisting, not knowing anything about each other's existence. Yeah, I think that's a very plausible idea. And what if TV always existed and we never knew, and that it's just a remote way to go back in time? But smarter people, or smart, quote unquote, smarter people, not trying to insult anybody, make us use the TV as entertainment when really maybe it wasn't for that purpose at all from the beginning. And maybe it was never intended for that purpose. Maybe TV was never intended for entertainment when it was created. Maybe it was, you know, for programming or for whatever cases it was used for, and it was never intended just for that sole purpose. So you have to think about these things. And I watched a video on Facebook that really inspired me from a girl who was talking about the same stuff I was talking about, but she's, of a different faith, and she was talking about why she thinks reality is subjective to one person as to the other. And I totally agree with her. Your perception of what you think is reality and another Muslim person's perception of what reality is all going to differ from race to race or religion to religion. You just have to find out what it means to you. Like I said, I still wear the cross because I do believe in Jesus, but it's just different things that I don't believe in that some Christians believe in. And I believe that they've just gotten too far out and they don't understand the true faith anymore. So tell me in the comments below what you guys think and give me a shout out in your videos if you are interested in these things and you're also of esoteric origin or whatever the case is. Let me know. It's been nice talking to you guys. Hope I just put a little thought in your ear to make you think about something. And even if you didn't watch the whole video, I hope you got something from it because it's very important to actually question a lot of the things that go into your brain instead of just being one of those Americans who doesn't care about anything except what their TV tells them. Don't be one of those people. All right, guys. Love you guys. Talk to you later.